Hello everybody. Hey, I was recently looking at a couple of duplexes to purchase and I had all the numbers on hand where I've done the math on them. So I thought it'd be a great time to go over how to do the math. In this case, it's a duplex, but the same math will work on, larger multifamily apartments, commercial buildings, whatever it may be. So I'm going to go through this. We're going to go through this longhand and go through all the formulas and that. I don't typically do this. I've built some spreadsheets, have some apps that I use. But I think it's important for you to understand the terminology, the formulas, what all this means, and also, most importantly, be able to know where to get the data to input into the spreadsheet or whatever you're using. So you got to get good data coming in to get good data coming out. So I'm going to try to run through this quickly. If I miss anything, please leave in the comments below, and I promise I will answer whatever questions you may have. So let's jump in, and the first thing you got to figure out is your gross income. Now, most of the time, this is just your rent, right? But if you have a building that has coin laundry or vending or whatever in there that generates income, you would want to include that in here as well. For this building, the rent, it's 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and it's $750 a month is what I feel confident I can get per unit, times 2 units. And that equals $1,500 a month or $18,000 a year. I know I can get $750 because I happen to own a building on this with an 8-family on the same block that this is on. But if you don't know that, this is maybe your first purchase. So a couple ways you can kind of get the feel for rents. You have to start studying your market. Get on apartments.com, Zillow.com, Craigslist, Facebook, and just look for rentals, see what they're going for, watch for the ones that's overpriced and stay out there forever. You gotta kind of take them out of your thought when you're evaluating this. Look for the ones that come up and they're gone quick, and that will give you a good feel for your market. Another good place to start is if you Google HUD 2020 rates for the city you're in. So for example, if you're in the Cincinnati area, if you Google HUD 2020 Cincinnati rates, it'll come up and tell you what HUD is willing to pay for a 2-bedroom. And I find those rents are pretty close for B and C class properties. If you have an A class, it may be a little low, but typically it's pretty close for B and C class properties. So the next thing you have to go through, calculate, is your operating expenses. And this has several categories to it. So one is maintenance, CapEx, vacancy, taxes, insurance, utilities, and management, property management. So we'll step through these. So maintenance is for things like break fix, the toilet's broke, the oven's broke. I also include things like lawn care and landscaping in that. CapEx is an important one that a lot of people miss. So this is every month you need to be putting some money away to prepare for things like a roof that you have to replace. So big ticket items, capital items, water tank, maybe a furnace, things like that. So every month you're putting some money away to prepare for that. And then vacancy, most people put it under operating expense. I actually think it really goes up here. It's really a reduction of your gross income, but I'll do it this way because this is more the standard way of doing it. And so vacancy is obviously what it is. It's when your unit's not rented. Now I use, to do this, a good starting point for this is to use 5% of gross rent for each line item, 5%. So 5% of your 18,000. So in this example, that's 900 each. Now this 5% is just a starting point, and once you get a spreadsheet and you understand how to do this, you can go in and modify this a little bit based on your properties and based off your experience. So maintenance and CapEx, you may say 5% is not enough. It's an old building, it's going to need a lot of work. I'm not gonna do any of the work myself, so you may wanna bump that up a little bit. Vacancy, 5%, once again, is a starting point. I never run 2%, I don't think I run 2% vacancy, but 5%, like I said, is just a good starting point for you on that. So the next thing is taxes, and I know the property taxes on this one is $17.50. Now I looked this up on the assessor's website for my county, but I want to caution you, when you look these up on the assessor's website, you've got to understand how your taxes work in your area. Now this is different for every county and state, but in Indiana, if it's owner occupied, the taxes are capped at 1% of the assessed value. If it's non-owner occupied, it's capped at 2% of the assessed value. So if you went in there and looked and it was owner occupied, and this is really coming into play on a single family, and you say, oh, the taxes are only gonna be $600, let's say, and then come tax time, you get a bill for $17.50. It's not gonna be a very pleasant day. So make sure you understand how the taxes, call the assessor, call the local realtor, whoever you need to talk to make sure you're getting the taxes right. So insurance, so it'll be around $1,000 for this duplex. I know that because I own some other duplexes. Call your insurance agent, call a couple of them, get different quotes to try to figure out if $1,000 will work in your example for your duplex. Now on this one that we're evaluating, I don't pay any of the utilities, so they're all separate and they're all paid by tenant. Now it's not to say you'll never pay a dime in utilities. When the tenants move out and it's vacant, you'll have some utility bills, but apartments usually rent quick around here, so I'm not gonna factor anything in. One thing, just one little tip on this, work with your utility company to have it automatically roll over to you when the tenant cancels their service. Because the last thing you want in the middle of winter that your heat gets cut off because the tenant went and canceled it and it doesn't automatically roll over to you. So be sure to do that. So we're gonna put 0 in for this. And management, we're not gonna count management. What's the DIY landlord channel, man? We're not gonna do this. No, seriously. You wanna, when you have a spreadsheet and you're doing this or an application, throw 10% in here. Even if you're planning to manage it yourself, just because things can change. Your health could change, whatever, and you need to get management. You wanna make sure your property's still cash flowing well with the management fee. But for this, we're gonna call it 0. And we'll just erase these two categories. So the total of this is $5,450. That's your operating expenses for this property. So the next thing you'll want to calculate is your NOI. And that's your net operating income. And that equals your gross rent minus your operating expenses. So your gross rent, your $18,000 minus your operating expenses, $54.50 would equal your NOI. So your grade rent is $18,000, and your operating expenses is $5,450. And so in this, if that equals $12,550 is your net operating income for this. So once you have that, then you're able to calculate your cap rate. And your cap rate is equal to your NOI divided by the price. So how much you pay for the property, also included in that any renovations or repairs you have to do up front, closing costs in that. So we know our NOI is $12,550 from up here, right here. Purchase price I negotiated was $105,000. And the property really didn't need any repairs. I didn't include closing costs in here just to keep the example simple. So our cap rate is 11.95%. So is that good? It depends. It depends on your area. It depends on the class of the property, and I'm not going to go through class of properties in this video, but before you ever buy a rental property, make sure you understand class. in my area, that's about what I expect for a C-class properties, around 12% cap rate. So, yeah, that looks good right there at about 11.95. So, if you're not getting a loan, this is really the only math you need. So your NOI will basically be, you'll get $12,550 you can put in your pocket every year from this property, and you're earning 11.95% on your $105,000 investment. If you're gonna get a loan though, we gotta do a little more math. So first thing we gotta figure out is free cash flow. And when we did all this, we never took into account any payments, right? Because this is kind of assuming an all cash purchase. So your free cash flow equals your NOI minus debt service. So debt service is how much you have to pay to the lender, whoever your lender is. So we know this is, our NOI is $12,550, and we're going to minus the loan, the debt service of $5,400 a year. That's about a $450 a month payment. That's based on the loan I can get now, which is a 25-year amortization, 20% down at a 4% rate. So with that, your free cash flow now equals $7,150. So now with a loan, instead of putting $12,550 in our pocket, we're putting $7,150 in our pocket each year. Once we have the free cash flow, now we can calculate cash on cash return. And basically that's your free cash flow divided by your out-of-pocket investment. So your out-of-pocket investment is basically your down payment on your loan, any expenses you've heard up front doing rehabs, whatever you need to do to get the place ready, and then you should throw in your closing costs in this as well. So we have $7,150 free cash flow, and we'll divide that by our out-of-pocket investment. I'm just going to use the 20% down payment and for this, just to keep it simple, and that's $21,000. And so that equals a cash on cash return of 34%. So this one's really important. Your free cash flow is really important. So is that good, bad? Once again, it depends on your area and class of property. In my area, I like to see about a 30% cash on cash return for a C-class property. Just to give you an example, this was actually part of a 2-duplex package I was trying to buy, and there was another duplex that was a B-class, and the cap rate was 9.2%, and the cash on cash return with a loan was 20.8%. So it was quite a bit lower, but it was a B-class property. So, and that's fairly standard what I see in my area for B-class rentals, about a 10 cap with about 20% cash on cash return. So that is it, everyone. I hope this helped you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll also create a video coming up where I show you the spreadsheet I created, and I'll be happy to share it with anyone. But if you want to see that, and if you like this kind of content, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.